Welcome to the InHer Circle podcast with MsHoliness, bringing you a dose of inspiration where she takes you from the ground to greatness, starting now.
Welcome, people of purpose. This is the InHer Circle podcast, episode 16, entitled Be Fearless. Yes, you heard it right, be fearless. And I am your host, MsHoliness, and I am so happy that you decided to tune in with me for a dose of inspiration. But before we begin to unpack what it means to be fearless, I want to do a recap of the last episode. So the last episode, which was episode 15, entitled What If I Told You, talked about how I wanted you to begin to tap into the belief that whatever you thought or think to be possible to do can be done. And that it's just a matter of making movement. Do you hear what I'm saying? It's just a matter of making movement. I mean, the reality is nothing works unless you do the work. So you have to put the work in. You have to believe that you can, okay? Then you have to make movement towards it by putting in the work. Therefore, I suggested that it was time to take the dream off of pause and press play, where you pursue the vision in an excellent way. So get out here and get it done, people of purpose, okay? Because you absolutely have what it takes. You just have to be intentional about making movement and taking a risk, okay? Because nothing great happens in comfort zones. And if you stay confined to your comfort zones, will you endeavor to continue to do stringent risk assessments, then you'll never take the risk. You'll never endeavor to take the risk, okay? So with that being said, people of purpose, let's jump right over into today's episode entitled Be Fearless. Yes, be fearless. So what does it mean in essence to be fearless? So when we think of someone who is fearless, we think of someone who is free from fear. We think of someone in essence who is bold, okay? Who is courageous, who is valiant, who is valorous, and who is brave. You have to possess some brevity. So essentially, someone who is fearless lives life without limits. Yes, you live life without limits, and you have chosen to take the lid off of life's limitations. You don't let anything stop you. You don't let any opposition that's opposing you slow you down. You don't let any of life's circumstances keep you down, and you certainly don't let others hold you down, all right? Essentially, there's this essence to you where you can't be held back or held down, and you can't be stopped, hindered, and or thwarted altogether. Like you're just going to make it happen. And you're going to do it with a certain level of tenacity and courage and with a certain level of strength. Because that was one thing that I failed to mention, okay? Being fearless takes strength. It takes for one to possess enough strength to know when to go, to know how to go, and when unsure, to have strength enough to know and wisdom enough to know that you need to rest, regroup, and re-strategize. So on the other side of that fear, okay, is also wisdom. So most people who are fearless walk with a metric of wisdom. You've got your stuff figured out. And for that cause, you're not afraid to take the leap of faith, so to speak. You're not afraid to go forth in your endeavors. You're not afraid to keep trying again when life seemingly tries to knock you down. You're not afraid to keep going forth when nobody's supporting you and people don't want to see you be great. You're determined to be great anyway, even in the face of adversity. Do you hear what I'm saying to you? Well, you guys, we're just going to take a quick commercial break and we'll be right back.
Want to get the word out? Want to promote your business? Great. For sponsorship opportunities, email inhercirclepodcast@gmail.com. That's InHerCircle podcast@gmail.com. And now, back to our show.
So we are back. I hope that you were tuned all the way in. Where you heard where you can become an awesome and amazing sponsor here of the InHer Circle podcast. The information was provided for you. All right, so let's get back into episode 16 entitled Be Fearless. We already discussed what being fearless encompasses. We already talked about some of the characteristics of one who is fearless. So now let's talk about fear itself and how you overcome your fear and get to a place of being fearless, okay? With how you get to a place of being fearless. And for me, in my personal life, my faith helps me to overcome fear. You know, I have a trust and belief in God. I know some of you like to call him a higher power, and some of you, do the whole universe thing. Well, that's not my thing, but nevertheless, it's your thing. So you have to draw strength from the thing that you believe in. And for me, my beliefs lie solely on the Lord God. So for me, I have this moniker. I believe that God has not given me the spirit of fear, but a power. So I operate with a prowess, and a presence that is like no other. In that I am of a sound mind, which means I have the ability to think things through at great levels. So that when fear does try to encompass me, I have been given a power by God and a prowess to overcome all of it. You hear what I'm saying to you? So the entirety of that passage says, "For God has not given me a spirit of fear, but a power and of love and of a sound mind." So in essence, likewise, and in turn, to overcome fear where purpose and destiny is concerned, you have to love what you do. You have to be passionate about it. Because if you're not passionate about it, you're going to let the fear cause you to stop short of what it is you're trying to accomplish. You're going to allow the fear to cause you to throw all of your purpose and not arrive at the appointed destination, which is essentially the end goal, to accomplish everything that has been placed down on the inside of you to do, and to do so in excellence, and to get to a sure place in doing it. In other words, to execute. And then you're executing, follow the plan through to completion, and finish strong like you know you can do. So that's the makings of what it means to be fearless. So if you haven't tapped into that metric of being fearless, and if you still live on the other side of fearless, which is fear, I want you to cross over today. I want a paradigm shift to occur when you go from being a person who's operating with fear to being a person who is fearless, standing in your strength. Standing in your strength. Believing that whatever you think possible to get done, you can do. Believing that there's no one or nothing in this earth or under the earth that can stop you from becoming everything that you know that you have been purposed to be. Knowing that there is nothing that can stop you from accomplishing everything that you have set out to accomplish. And why? Because you are fearless. Well, you guys, let's segue right over into today's hot button topic. But before we get started with today's hot button topic, you guys, I just want to say that my heart and my prayers go out to the victims out there in Texas who were gravely impacted by the school shooting that took place. You guys, it's just a sad state of affairs altogether with these mass shootings of children and teachers that has been taking place here recently. And as much as I can say is I hope that government comes up with a plausible solution state to state, whereas they make the purchasing of guns more stringent for people, period. Not just for people 17 upwards of 18, but for everyone. Like, I mean, some really stringent requirements. Like some really stringent requirements, you guys, where they make you literally jump through hoops to get licenses for carrying, as well as when it comes to purchasing guns, artillery. And see, that's where it gets sticky. Even though legislation can take all of those measures and put them into play, we still have the world of we still have this underground, this network of people who have illegal guns. And they flood these illegal guns all throughout the United States. But they namely flood impoverished neighborhoods with these guns. Because not only am I disheartened by the current mass shootings that have been occurring throughout America and have occurred throughout the years, but I am sorely grieved by all of the shootings that have been taking place throughout the inner cities in America, and for all of the children whose lives have been lost in your inner cities, such as your Philadelphias, your Chicagos, your Detroits, your Atlantas, like your New Orleans. like, I'm just really disheartened, upset, and something has to give. I don't know exactly how to remedy this problem per se, but I just hope that government finds a way. So the same way that government has the ability to track everything else, my hope is that they find a way to track down illegal guns and confiscate those. Because we need to begin to come up with a plausible solution to help save our youth. Our youth is being killed off at the hand of guns, which is sad. It's just a sad state of affairs. But with that being said, my heart goes out to everyone who has lost a loved one, namely youths who fell predicate to gun violence. Do you hear what I'm saying to you? And that's to include these recent turn of events inside of the schools, as well as with that shooting out there in upstate New York, like around Buffalo, New York, I believe it was. You know, I'm just hoping that things begin to change some way, somehow. And I saw on social media where someone said it's not that the people of God aren't always praying, because I can speak for myself personally. I'm always praying on behalf of people, period. Not just people who ascribe to the Christian sect. All right, I pray for everybody to be well. I pray for everybody to be whole, healed, and in their right mind. All right, I pray for provisions for you guys, that you might have food, clothes, shelter, and everything in between. So prayer is always happening. But at some point, people have to come into agreement with the prayers that are being prayed. Like, in other words, people have to have a change of heart and mind. Because if no sincere change of heart and mind takes place, it's not going to really begin to impact or affect change in behaviors. Like, the behaviors will persist. And I'm a firm believer, too, let me say this, that God has the ability to regulate anybody's heart and mind. But because of that thing called free will, He's not going to inject himself, but so much, okay? But so much. But what I do want to say is, and I know that, there's a plan for all of this, even though we may not understand right now. But what I will say is, I would that upon hearing this, and after seeing all of the travesty that is unfolding in the world, that many of you would turn your hearts, that many of you would begin to turn your hearts to God, and in some instances turn your hearts back to God, begin to look to God again, the author and finisher of your faith, in a more excellent way, so that He can cover you and keep you through these tragedies. Do you hear what I'm saying to you? All right. So let's jump right into it, you guys. On a lighter note, today we're going to be discussing and touch on a very hot button topic, you all. So I saw this question going around on social media. This is not one that somebody sent me specifically per se, but I thought it would make for an interesting topic, okay, to talk about during the hot button portion of the show. So let's jump right into it. Here's the question. Is a man who makes $100K a year enough for you ladies? Okay? And then the question said, be honest and let's talk about it. So let's talk about it. All right, I'm going to give you my honest, raw answer. And then I want you all to feel free to come and comment, all right? I'm going to create a thread on the InHer Circle podcast page where you can chime down below and let me know how you feel about this topic. I want you all to go off, people. So I want you all to chime down below and let me know under the post on the InHer Circle podcast page. Likewise, and in turn, I will leave instructions at the end where you can submit your questions, comments, and everything in between. So this is how I feel, okay? When it comes to the question, is a man making $100K a year enough for me? And this is about me. I'm not making this about everybody else. This is my earnest opinion. All right? So my answer was, for me, yes. So yes, it is enough, okay, for me. Because I'm a firm believer that when he makes $100K, and if I make $75K or more, that when we get married, So we'll have a household income, a combined household income of 175K a year or more. Because there's always earning potential. Do you hear what I'm saying to you? So even though you meet a man and right now he makes 100K, when you guys get together, you can come up with creative ideas, get ingenuity. You guys can work together and push a product, push purpose, which products should be rooted in purpose. So you guys can come together and push purpose, come up with witty ideas, and make life happen at a whole nother level. So in my mind, earning potential is limitless. It's limitless. So yes, I would in fact date a man who makes 100K. I would date a man who makes 75K. I will date a man who makes 50. And do you know my reasoning behind that? Because as a woman who's had to maintain her own car payment, maintain her own house note, maintain her own bills, buy her own bags and stuff, like, I don't really need a man for that aspect of life. Do I want to be spoiled? Do I want to be treated well by a man? Yes, and I've had that. I've dated millionaires and then I've dated blue collar workers. So I'm equal opportunity. I'm open. You should always be open. Don't just shut someone out because of where they are right now. Because right now is not the forever. For instance, I'm not going to put their name out here, but I remember dating this guy, and he had a CDL license or whatever, so he's doing good for himself. But then he slid over into the owner-operator sector of a matter and got some trucks, and he really began rolling. So imagine if I had just looked at him and compared him to, let's say, a guy that I dated when I was younger who was in a position where they could already buy Bentleys, and I'm talking about Bentleys with cash. Who were in a position to take me shopping for a first date, like to Neiman's, to Blooming, wherever. Like, I've had guys do that. So imagine if I was to compare that guy to those guys who was getting fast money. So imagine if I was looking at it from the vantage of he don't make enough money. In that instance, I would have blown a great experience just based off of finances. Where here it was, I was making my own money. So for me, I think women who are like that are women who never really had anything. Because when you're accustomed to handling business and you've had the men with the money, and you've experienced all of that, like when you're accustomed to having things, nice things, and you're known to go out here and make it happen, you know what I mean? You're a female. And when you're a female who knows how to go out here and make life happen, because for me, you guys, I've only ever been married Islamically, and that was short-lived. However, what I have always done was had great careers, access to great monies, okay? And I've always took care of business. Like when I was in my 20s, I was getting my grandmom's house remodeled. I paid my mom's rest of her car payment off at one time. So for me, a man is an extension of what I'm already doing for myself. And if we can come together and work together and be married, we can have more together. And that's just how I feel about it. All right? And I'm going to say this. Hell, when I was a social worker before I resigned in 2012, I was surviving off of $50K a year. So for me, it's just about money management. That's important. Because even on a $50K a year, just about budget, and I didn't just have a social work job, I had side hustles. Because everybody know that social work doesn't pay you a lot. So even on a social work budget with no children or student loans, of course, because the God that I serve was gracious to get my student loans written off. He was gracious enough to do it for me. I still managed to live in the suburbs of New Jersey. Still managed to drive a brand new car whenever I got ready. Wore luxury items and even took some nice vacations here and there. And that was all while I was single on a social worker salary. So in short, you just have to be with somebody that you can partner with. Someone who you can love and trust, okay? Who has great money management skills and who lives, okay? And this is important, and who lives within their means. So I think that that's the thing, you guys. The woman who has a problem dating a man who makes between 75K, we're going to take it there. Between 75K, we're going to go to 50, okay? For Pete's sake. Because some people are only making 50K a year. Some men or especially black men, are only making $50K a year, if that. So we just gonna be gracious and start at 50. So a man who's making between 50K and 100K, I think that a lot of women have a problem with that because in this generation, women live outside of their means. And it's burdensome. And it's like you can't carry the brunt of the burden, but you want to transfer that over onto a man, a potential good man who would treat you right, wine and dine you, rub your feet, and I can't say what else I would say because I'm saved now. You know, I'm the woman of God. But yeah, you would forego a good man based off of income, and I just think that that's so asinine. Because the right kind of woman, a roof kind of woman, and I know I always got to go back to the word of God because I'm a believer, will come and help you build. Like, men, it's me talking to the men now. Be with a woman who's going to help you build. A woman who's going to help you cultivate the ideas and ingenuity that you have. A woman that's going to build you up and put a battery in your back and say, run, babe. And she in high pursuit on your heels. Like somebody that when it look like you get ready to fall, she got enough strength to push back up against you to hold you up. Like be with somebody like that. I'm not saying be with no woman who wants to be the man in the relationship, who gonna say, oh, well, I'm coming with all this, or this what we doing, that's the plan. No, I'm not saying be with no woman that's operating in a lot of masculine energy, because I still want you guys to be the men, okay? The men in the relationships, the men in the marriages. But at the same time, be with somebody who's going to be a team player, a help me, somebody who's going to coach you to a degree. Because men, you have to be open and you have to be coachable, especially if your woman is in a better position than you financially. All right? You take some pointers from her. Because I know it's hard for guys at times to take but so much advice from women. But I will say this. Clearly, if her finances are in order to the degree that they are, she done figured some stuff out. And if you got her as a woman, take some advice up off of her so that she can help you fully figure out your stuff. Like, she may come and just, like, cause you to see some things that you ain't never seen. She got some key connections, and she know how to network, and she's willing to support your dreams. Be with that woman. But by no means be with the woman who's putting a demand out there, putting a demand on you to make over 100K from the door, from jump. Because that's just the woman who's looking to run you in the ground. That's just the woman that if you ever go broke, she going to leave you and find the next best thing smoking. So, to that question, I say yes. I will date a man making 100K. That's a good place to start in my mind. And to go a little further, as I first stated, I would be willing to date a man who makes between 50 and 75K. Simply because if he's a good steward over his finances, which means he has good money management skills and he knows how to crunch those numbers and he pays his bills on time and he has a good credit score. Because let me say this when it comes to the credit score. So even when I was making under 50 at times, I kept a credit score of like 720, okay, 750. I learned how to manage my credit to the degree where I can keep it between a 720 and a 750. At one point, I think I was at like a 760. That was yeah. I mean, if he knows how to manage his credit and keep his affairs in order, y'all gonna be okay. Put that money together. Put that money together and make it make sense. That was a play on word. Make it make sense. Okay, make it math. You know how y'all like to say the math ain't mathing? Well, guess what? The math can math if you put two things together and add it up. Okay. Because there are so many good men out here that women are foregoing based off this premise alone. And I just think it's trash. I really do. I think it's trash. And I can say that because at one point in my life, I somewhat had this trashy mindset, trashy way of thinking, but I was very young to my defense. And it only happened because I started out. After my first little boyfriend, my next boyfriend was a millionaire. So that kind of sets your expectations a little higher. But over time, you adjust them, you know, as you grow. So from 19 till now, I've adjusted my expectations to a degree. And I now understand that it's about partnership. It's not now that they down, you kick them. Those are the makings of a grimy person. And that's what a lot of you people are out there. You guys are grimy to your core. A person is only as good to you or is of any use to you as long as they can do for you. That's what makes them good to you. Other than that, they are of no use to you, which is sad. I mean, life has taught me some things, but what I will say is, ladies, stop judging men predicate upon what they make. Now, I'm not saying settle for a struggle relationship where a man is making $20,000, $30,000, $40,000. Okay, because that's going to be struggle, especially if he got children. The mothers are like sticking it to him in court with child support. But what I am saying is, if you are in this high tax bracket and you are getting your life, because for instance, like Oprah, what is anybody going to give Oprah Winfrey? What is anybody really going to give Rihanna? Like what? So if you're a woman who is out here bossed up handling your business because so many more women than there are men, this is not me telling you to settle, but consider. Especially if it's a good man. Especially because money comes and goes. Like I done had and I done had not. I was a have and I was a have not. And I was a have again. So I know that money comes and goes, but what's eternal is love. So if you can find somebody who loves you earnestly and wants to be with you, who respects you, who ain't out here being a philanderer, just out here in the land strewing everything and everybody moving, then give that man an earnest try, an earnest shot, all right? Then I say give love an earnest try, an earnest shot, and don't base it off of income. And we have the other side of the paradigm too, where I know because women are getting to the bag now, men will come up and try to be opportunists. And they'll try to play on your emotions and get in your head so that they can have access to what you have. Just be mindful of that. Everybody is not out here on demon time. And for those who are out here on demon time, which essentially just means they have bad intentions towards you, get connected to God and ask Him to reveal the hearts of every person that comes within your sphere of influence so that nobody can get in and get over on you. That's the importance, likewise, of having a connection to God, having a relationship with God. And if any of you are following me all across social media platforms, y'all know that I stress this, the importance of being connected to God and in having a solidified prayer life. Like, it's very important. Words can't even begin to express how important it is. Do you know that me being a believer and having a relationship with God has kept me from making some pretty crazy mistakes? Has kept me from making some pretty crazy mistakes. Has helped me not to connect with people that I had no business connecting with. And it has kept me with the mindset to be open, okay? To be open to others. Not open for others like a fool, but open to others. Like look within people deeper. To look into a situation and or a person through a different vantage. Because everybody's not out here trying to get over, even though we do have a vast majority of people who are out here trying to get over. But that's all I got to say on that matter. I mean, just be open. Be open to the guy who is a 100K earner or less. And when I say less, me personally, I wouldn't go no lower than 50K. And that's when we're getting to know each other and start dating, because it's potential there. Because with me, I'm about to be 40. So that means whatever man I date, he's going to be older than me. I'm not going to date a younger man. I've tried that before. That doesn't work. So if he's older than me, I expect for his expectations to be set at a certain level and be geared towards greater success. Okay? So a man that I am going to date per se or be with is not going to be satisfied with making nothing less than 50. They just not. Because a man per se is not even going to feel comfortable being with a certain kind of woman unless he just one of them. And I don't need to say what one of them is. But a man is not going to, I want to put that, a man is not going to feel comfortable with being with a woman. But being with a woman who is making power moves if he himself is not geared at making power moves. Does that make sense? I hope it makes sense for you. Well, that concludes our talk for today. Thank you for joining me for episode 16 of the InHer Circle podcast, entitled Be Fearless. With questions and comments, text 484-393-2730. Keyword, the InHer Circle Live. To connect with the InHer Circle, follow us on Twitter at the InHer Circle _, on Instagram at the InHer Circle _podcast, and on Facebook at the InHer Circle Podcast. For sponsorship opportunities, email us at inhercirclepodcast@gmail.com. Well, this is MsHoliness signing out. I look forward to you joining me for the next episode, where I aspire to lift you higher.